It's good to be with you again. And Jeff Fuller, Jay Fuller Interviews, where you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube channel at Jay Fuller Interviews. Right now, I have a good friend, old friend, joining me, and we are both basketball junkies. So, John Decker, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jeff, nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
Hey, so first of all, congratulations. There's this little duffer behind me now, Owen Huntington. Tell me his story.
Oh, well, we had him during quarantine. It was the beginning of quarantine. March 22nd, he was born. It's been an absolute blessing to be able to be home with him the entire time for the first 6 weeks of his existence. It's been trying on my wife and I, but it's been a lot of fun because it's been only us two that's been able to take care of him thus far.
For sure. Are you getting any sleep?
Any what?
Sleep.
No, that doesn't happen. I won't lie. I get a little more than my wife does. I'm not his food source, so at night it's more her. But no, there's no sleep. But that's okay.
It's funny you bring that up. My cousin, this is probably so rude and politically incorrect, but he said, make sure your wife nurses because in the middle of the night, there's nothing you can do. And I just said it was healthier for the baby. So I don't know if that's a fact or not, but
It definitely is healthier for the baby. But also, if you ask if you ask your wife or anybody else's wife, that is not the right way. We could still do some things in the middle of the night.
Probably true. So true. Hey, so I'm a huge basketball junkie. You're a big
Yes.
basketball guy. The
Yes.
Last Dance. How much fun has this been to rewatch just this basketball that we grew up with?
It's crazy because I watch it and I forget that I've seen it and that I was, I remember where I was when I watched some of these games. Now I am not caught up. I've only watched the first four. We have to DVR it since we have a kid. 9:00 on a Sunday is late for us.
Yeah.
So we don't get to watch it and we haven't been able to catch up on it yet. But to play back in my mind where I was when these games were going on, it's just I grew up a huge Clyde Drexler fan.
Okay.
So I was always against Michael Jordan. I always appreciate greatness. I'm not a Patriots fan, but I appreciate what they've done. But to watch Jordan now from where I was then, it's just a whole different perspective on him. It's crazy.
Now you grew up in Philly, correct?
Yeah, outside of Philly, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. It's northeastern Pennsylvania.
So what led you to be a Drexler fan? Now, before you answer that, I was a Magic Johnson fan, and my wife's family gives me such a hard time because they're from Michigan. So, of course, they were a Pistons fan.
Yeah.
Why wasn't I a Celtics fan? I just love the no-look pass. That's why I love Magic.
Sure.
But why were you a Drexler fan?
For none other than he was the second best player to Jordan at the time, and I am very competitive, and I am a big basketball guy. So playing basketball, everybody wanted to be Jordan, and I just couldn't be Jordan. So we didn't have a lot of money growing up, and I think we found a old school Portland Trailblazers Clyde Drexler jersey, and I rocked that, and he became my favorite player. And I just ran with it from there. And, you just, after watching him and mimicking him in the backyard and stuff, it was just, he became my guy.
Well, I chose number 22 when I was, junior high school, because I went to small Christian school. So you made the team, not that I played, but that's all that was left. And I was trying to say, who has 22? And it was Clyde Drexler and John Sally.
So you went with Clyde the Glide.
I did. My game resembled more of John Sally, just bang him down low, but that's about it. Hey, so I just want to get to this next slide. Actually, I'll skip that one. You're also the head boys basketball coach at Stowe High School. You guys had a good season. How many years have you been coaching at Stowe?
That was my third full season at the high school level. Prior to that, I did 2 years at the youth level. And yeah, it was a good season. These boys have come a long way. This graduating senior class was one of my first classes that I had in there. They were sophomores, but they set the tone and they build the foundation for what Stowe basketball has become and for what it's going to be. I couldn't say enough about every single one of the seniors that played for me this year. Coaching, I mean, you do a little coaching yourself. It's so rewarding. It's one of the best things I do. I would give up everything to be able to be a coach well, everything except for family, to be able to
Yeah.
be a coach full time. The impact that you have on kids, it's not just about basketball. It's about making young men, it's developing young men. It's about taking boys and creating men out of them and showing them that you can overcome adversity on the court, off the court, in this classroom, at home with your family. It's more of a life lesson than it is coaching basketball.
Yeah, I was actually asked that if I wasn't a pastor, what would I do? And I said, realistically, anything full time, it would definitely be coaching.
Yeah.
I think Vermont provides a unique opportunity as well because it's weird and it's different how one year you might be Division 3, the next year Division 4, possibly Division 2. And we are not dealing with elite athletes, but we are dealing with some great Vermont kids. For you, how do you fit your basketball coaching philosophy with students that it changes every year?
My assistants and I talk about, other coaches and I talk about this all the time. Like, do we run a set style and make the kids adapt? Or do we make it fun on ourselves and adapt to the kids that we
Yeah.
have?
Yeah.
Now, my first year coming into to coaching basketball, I had to start 3 real forwards
Yeah.
because we didn't have many great players on our team. Then we were young. So the second year came, I had a 6'7" guy, a 6'6" guy, Josh, and we had to adapt our offense around. I had to run a lot of flex, a lot of post in and out. And then this year, my tallest guy was 6'1", so we didn't have height. We had a lot of speed, so we had to change the game to fit this year's team. And not being able to have my full hand on the youth program and how they're developed, I have to take with what I get. So, I get to scout a little bit of the 7th and 8th grade graders that are coming up. And then usually in 9th grade, unless you're really, really good, you're not really going to play a lot of varsity. So we get to see a lot of that. But we'll mimic the game around our kids. And we make them adapt. One big thing that I tell my kids is you've got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. I'm sure you've heard that saying many times, but it's so true in any part of life. You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and that's the way you succeed. Halfway through the year, we went through a little stretch with these guys where they just couldn't find how they could gel together. And it started with my point guard, Max. He's always been a high scorer, 15 to 18, 22 points a game. He's had a couple 35-point games for me. And this year, his senior year, they started to really target him and take him out of the offense, and he was getting really frustrated. And it showed 5-game stretch where we went on a 5-game losing streak. And so we had a conversation, and we changed up the way he played basketball and showed him that you can help your team win and you can be more effective in other aspects. And he started to get 2-3 steals a game because he started playing stronger defense. He started getting a couple rebounds because he was playing bigger inside. He was getting more assists because he was looking at the court. It wasn't just head towards the basket and go. And a lot of kids relied on him for that the past 3 years. He's a four-year starting senior, and they relied on him to be the catalyst to get them the points. And when he realized that he didn't have to be, that's when we started clicking.
Yeah, and you mentioned before just relying on your assistant coaches. How important is it for you to have coaches on the same page as you? And how have you learned to listen to them when you are the head coach?
That's funny you brought that up. My assistants are the best ever. I don't even like to call them my assistants. My fellow coaches, we're all at the same level. Logan and Keith, Keith is more of a development. He takes the kids one-on-one. He'll help them out in the summertime. But Logan is a basketball mind. He's absolutely incredible. He does all my substitutions for me. I don't have to say anything. He does them all for me. He gets rotations down. We talk about rotations, and they bring so much to the game that I don't get to see, that I have no choice but to listen. I would be ignorant not to listen to what they have to say. And it's hard for me as a person that owns my own businesses, as a person that has to have like that last say. It was hard for me to take advice from somebody else that I thought I knew more than, but I don't. And once I understood that, we were able to grow as a team. I was able to put my selfishness aside and allow Logan and Keith to both make calls during a game. And it's not even the assistants, as far as I'm concerned. I allow some of the kids, some of the athletes to coach. I have one, as you see in the picture in the background, I'm there cheering with Max, but to my left there, where you can barely see, is Luke. Luke is a player coach. He took, I got mad at him last year because this is how stubborn I am, because he took his team when we did a little scrimmage and changed up a defense to a defense I've never ran or worked with. And it was successful. But I was like, what are you doing that? And I was like, you don't go off of the path. And then I sat back. Actually, I didn't sit back. I read a book. An insert from a book that one of my favorite talk show hosts, Colin Coward, has, and one of the things that he says, and I remember it, but he said I had to reiterate it myself. He says, you don't ever want to be the smartest man in the room. You want to be amongst the smartest men in the room. And I know that the kid that I'm talking about is 16 years my younger, but he was trying to do something that I didn't realize at the time that was important for the kids and for myself. And that is trying to take that leadership role on the team and take a little bit of weight off my shoulders and show those kids that he knows what he's talking about, and then try to be a leader so that they can follow him. And I had to take a step back. And the next day I actually went to practice and apologized to him in front of the entire basketball team, because I should not have been upset for him doing what he was doing. And it turned out to really be effective as he helped coach down the stretch of the season.
Well, I finished a book. It's called Hero Maker, and it said too often people want to be the heroes, but we need to become the hero makers, and that just really stood out to me. Looking at this basketball season, this crazy quarantine, personally, I think AAU is a necessary evil. I think it's good for kids to be on a team and travel and practice. But I remember, I'm that old guy, I guess, that we used to just go out and play and play and play. And now it seems as though kids won't play unless there's a score book and referees on the floor. What are your thoughts on AAU, and how did that impact your program not having an AAU season?
I come from, like we said at the beginning of this, I come from outside of Philadelphia. You were not on an AAU team unless you were going Division I, some of the best Division II players. So when I moved up to Vermont and I heard of AAU, I'm like, I got to check out an AAU team from Vermont. And then I understood that everybody puts on an AAU team in Vermont. I am not a proponent of AAU. I love that the kids get to play basketball, but you don't touch the ball enough for the amount of money that you pay to play AAU. You might as well just go get a trainer and work with him or her twice on a weekend, and you get more ball touches than you would in an AAU practice and game. Is it good for some people? Yeah, absolutely, because they understand how to play as a team. But you're right. We used to play pickup ball. It was scheduled in the summertime when we didn't have school. 3 days a week, we'd meet at the park. There'd be 40 kids down there. We're in a different environment up here where there's not as many athletes around and not as many people take the game as serious. They'll come down and play just to get some runs in, but they won't take it as serious. So it's not as fun. I guess what I'm saying is I don't love AAU, but if it's a way to get the kid to play a lot of basketball, then it's okay. We talked about doing a couple of my athletes asked me to do an AAU team this year. Obviously, I can't coach them. So one of our friends is probably going to coach them if they do kick off an AAU season, and we'll get a group of Stowe kids together just so that they can continue to play together. At the age of high school, I'm not a fan of them playing with other athletes on other schools.
Right.
You would like them to learn with the kids that they have. And if they're that much better, then you'd help them. They'd help their teammates grow. When they're younger, yeah, it's nice to get a different look with other kids. But when you get into the high school level, I think it turns around and you should just stick with your guys.
I definitely agree with that. And I think it builds chemistry and camaraderie within your team. And that really helps whether you're in the season or hopefully in the playoffs as well. Hey, switching gears a little bit, you mentioned being a business owner, and I just want to pull up your menu for, see if I can do this. Fork and Gavel, how hard has it been for you guys during this COVID-19 quarantine? I've been to your place a few times, you know that,
Yeah.
and so
Yep.
you have really good food, a great environment. Um, how difficult has it been as a small business owner to really get out and get your
Well,
wares out?
unfortunately, we had to close down a couple days before our 1 year anniversary. Actually, Owen was born 2 days prior to our 1 year anniversary. Um, it's not been easy, but Jeff, we're not going to sulk on it. It's not easy for anybody. We're taking the same proper steps that everybody else is taking. We're looking for any, help that might be fitting for what we do. Any way that they can help us. If I didn't, I'd be 100% honest with you. If we didn't have a newborn in the house, we'd probably be doing some takeout, but I can't risk that right now.
Yeah.
So we decided to take it and close it down for a little bit until hopefully this passes, or our child becomes a little bit, you know, stronger in the immune system, and we can really go at it and open up a couple days a week. But it's not been easy on any small business, and I don't think people really want me to go on a political tirade here, so we won't. But it's hard for us to be closed. We were open, like I said, for 360 days. So we met a lot of phenomenal people in the restaurant. And for us to not be able to see them on a daily basis, for us not to be able to feed them, for us not to be able to hang out and see their smiling faces, it's really hard for us. I'm an extrovert. I need people. I need things to do. Being stuck in my house I love my wife. I love my animals. I love my child, but I need to be doing stuff. We miss the restaurant a lot.
I
But
hear
we'll
you.
get back. We'll get back.
Oh, definitely. We'll be there to support you when you do.
I appreciate that.
Now, just backing up, because you've always had your hand in something, whether it's owning a business or just where did that come from? That drive, that passion, that desire, just to be involved and not just to be a follower, but to really be a trendsetter.
I didn't have anything growing up. I had to work for everything that I got, so I cherished everything I had. My mom jumped from job to job to job to job. Minimum wage jobs, even with 3 kids, single mother. And I saw that she wasn't there all the time, and she had to work a lot just to keep a roof over her head. And my father, who was also a figure in our lives, that him and my mother just had their split, but he worked hard and a lot to get what he had, and it wasn't. Neither of my parents graduated college, and they had to really work to do what they wanted to do or tried to be somewhat successful. And I didn't want to struggle like that. And I knew that I needed to make the proper moves in order to get on top and to be on top of my life and support myself and help support my family. So, when I had the opportunity, I went with it. And it just has led to bigger opportunities, and more doors have opened. And I've been able to and blessed to be where I'm at today. Happy, successful, healthy, great family. It's just been phenomenal. It's been a great ride.
Now, with your son Owen, where do you think that balance will be where he pushes as hard as you, or do you want him to be able to catch his breath a little bit compared to what you've had to do?
I won't push him into now. I myself. I am not I'm a community college graduate, so uh, I will not push him to to get into the industry that I'm in, the restaurant industry. I will help guide him to college if he chooses to do so. But who knows where we're going to be in 18 years from
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
Um, I will let him make his own decisions with strong guidance. I will never interfere if he never wants to pick up a basketball and he wants to play a guitar, or he wants to be an actor, or a doctor, or whatever he wants to do, as long as it's got a strong backbone and good substance behind it. I'll support it 100%. So I hope he pushes and works as hard as I do and as hard as his mother does, but he won't be a slug. I'll tell you that. He'll do something, but whatever it is, we'll be there to support him 100%.
So let's transition a little bit. What have you been doing during this COVID-19 quarantine? Has it been reduced to changing diapers and warming up bottles, or how are you surviving?
Well, he still uses his mother for a food source, so there's no bottle warming yet. It's been changing a lot of diapers. Prior to this, I didn't ever intend on changing as many as they have. But things I've been doing, I built a really, really large chicken coop. We wanted chickens and guinea hens for a while. Since our times are slow right now, I had time. I built a really large chicken coop. Our basement water drain was blocked, so we dug that out and we redid that. We're in the process of doing a lot of stuff around the house. I don't have that excuse. I don't have time anymore for the honey to-do list, so I've got to do it. My wife likes that I'm doing it, but I also, I don't know if she could probably hear me, but I also think she's kind of jealous that I get to do it because she's kind of stuck with the child right now. You know, I mean, we've got him on a little different of a schedule, so she has some free time without him. But for the first month, he was in her arms and only wanted to be in her arms. So it was tough. It was tough on her. It was tough on me. But we're getting stuff done around the house. It's been kind of nice, to be honest with you.
Now, I'll get you out a couple more questions, but then I'll let you go. First is, are you guys watching any Netflix? And if so, is there a new show or miniseries that you would recommend?
We watched Ozark, which was great. We watched Waco. Waco was interesting. It was about the standoff in Waco, Texas. One of my favorite things that we watched, but it was on HBO Go, was McBillionaire. McMillionaire. It's on HBO. You got to check it out. It was incredible. It was about a company that does the Monopoly game for McDonald's and how they schemed McDonald's out of a bunch of money in that game. It's actually really, really good. But I can't watch television. I'm not the type of person that can sit there. My wife jokes with me all the time. I even recall the last movie that I've watched, because as soon as the credits come on for the movie, I'm snoring. I can't do it. I can't sit and relax. I have though, and I'm guilty. I have been playing a lot of Call of Duty, not a lot, but enough to be like, okay, John, you got to stop this. So I haven't done any exercising. So I'm getting my quarantine 50. But no, those are the three shows that we've really got interested in. Without sports on TV, I'm lost.
Yeah, I know for me, for the first week of this quarantine and everything, I watched Contagion, Outbreak, I Am Legend, all those movies. And then I watched the show, I think it's USA, called Shooter, kind of based on the movie that Mark Wahlberg was in.
Okay.
And then I was putting together a to-go bag. It had face paint and matches, and we're real fortunate where we live. My parents have 17 acres, so we built like a camp and had campfires and a little platform for a hammock and stuff. But my son was saying, "Dad, what is wrong with you?" And it's like, I don't know, but I need to do something. And this was probably a bad use of my time, but that's how I used it.
Have you watched Tiger King?
I've seen a couple episodes. My wife and my son watched the whole thing. So
yeah, we got to episode 3 and we couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, I couldn't.
It was outrageous. It was too much.
I will say, for working out, my friend suggested this for this month of May. Every day you do one more push-up than you did the day before.
Mm-hmm.
So he started at 1 on the first, and so he did 5 today.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I would do more than that, and now I'm starting to feel it. I don't know if I'll be making all of them at the end, but little things, got to keep your mind engaged somehow.
You do. I've been doing a lot of basketball webinars on Zoom. A lot of coaches and a lot of instructors that I know have been putting a lot of free content up on Twitter for us to follow. And so I've been tuning into a lot of that. I've been trying to get my kids into a lot of I was on one where this guy did a dribbling session. It was 35 minutes. He sat on the computer, and dribbled in his living room. And there were 198 kids on it from all over the world, not the country, the world. It was absolutely incredible. So we've been doing a lot of that. I've been listening to a lot of speakers and trying to follow anything I can as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal that we do have this opportunity to make the most of the time that we have,
Yeah.
and whether it's to read a book or to listen to a podcast or to really to take in. And that's what I would just suggest and throw out, that um, we help our kids that we coach and families really make the most of this opportunity instead of getting discouraged by what they
Yes.
cannot do.
Absolutely.
So, what would you tell your players, especially your seniors that are so almost devastated by this thought of not having prom, not having graduation? As a coach, a friend, a mentor, role model, just a good overall guy, what advice would you tell them?
I mean, it's almost as sad as it is. It's almost the same advice you kind of tell a good close friend or a family member when somebody close to them passes away. The
Yeah.
sun comes up the next day, and it's what you make of it. Whether these kids like it or not, it's all gone. It's done. It's not coming back. So how do we grow from it? What are ways that we can work to make these memories in a different way? How can we enjoy what we're going through right now? And with a lot of smart minds, they will figure it out. But staying active, staying positive, and staying on top of your academics and your physical abilities is what you need to do. You need to take this time. We can't waste. You're not going to become great in a day. You're going to become great over days.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
starts somewhere. It's you've got to continue to work. You've got to continue to live, and you've got to continue to bring a positive attitude, because once you start going negative, it's a rabbit hole you don't want to go down. It's a part of history, so absorb it, take it all in, read, understand. Don't believe everything you read, but read, because in 15 years, we're gonna look back on this, just like we're looking back on the Netflix shows that
Yeah.
we're watching, the
Yeah.
Wacos and stuff. We're gonna learn. It's gonna be a part of history, but just like everything else, this too shall pass, and we'll move forward. And what are you going to get from it? That's the main thing. What are you going to learn from this? And how are you going to grow from what we're doing right now?
Well, that's a
And you leave
fact.
it up to them.
Oh, so true. Hey, John, thanks so much for making the
Yeah,
time.
Jeff.
It's always good to see you and talk
I
to you.
appreciate you, Jeff.
And when we get more sports, we'll get you back on and we'll be talking about live sports
I
from
can't
here on
wait.
out. But hey,
I
thanks
can't wait.
again.
Thanks, Jeff.
And again, that's John Decker joining me, Jay Fuller Interviews, Jay Fuller Interviews on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We have some more great interviews coming at you this week. Hopefully, you can make the time and check those out. But for now, have a great night. Tell your story and make someone better.